calling you, Lord. I'm too young to just hang around, too proud to be your fool. You said no thank you when I tried to get you.
What's going on, fishy friends? I'm excited as always to have Walleye Pete with us tonight. It's a fishing report. It's like a ultra fishing report because for me it's a little bit of a selfish motivation because it's obviously a popular show for you guys, but it's also my backyard. So if I've been too busy doing these shows or if I've been busy doing other stuff, I can get caught up really quickly doing my own work, which is bringing Walleye Pete in. But before we do that tonight, I'm really excited. We have a new sponsor for the show. We've kind of gotten out of our fishing related sponsors and brought in a guy actually that I fish with a lot, but his family company. And we're really proud to be sponsored by third generation Cipriano Plumbing and Figliozzi Ceramic Tile. I am proud of myself.
Right on.
That rolled off the tongue.
Roll it.
Let me tell you guys a little bit about this company. They've been around for a long time, obviously third generation. But one of the coolest things, from personal experience, is I've been, fishing with Fig before, and this guy's always on. He's always got a fish on, but he's always there for his customers. And man, when he picks up that phone to speak to his customers, I don't know if I've ever witnessed better customer service. I was like, man, I know if I have a plumbing or tile issue, I know who I'm calling. So guys, let me put that logo up one more time. It's going to be a part of the intro and outro here really soon. But if you have any plumbing needs, if you have any tiling needs, they really do it all, not just plumbing and tiling, but third generation Cipriano Plumbing and Figliozzi Ceramic Tile. So give them a call. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the man of the hour, Captain Walleye Pete. Pete, how you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. I love that shirt. You're always so well dressed.
Yeah, look at that. Woohoo! I really like the shirt. I was impressed. I just got it in the mail, and it looks, I love the color, and it feels great, and it's cool. My wife, she even looked at me, like she liked me with a shirt on.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I'm happy about that. I think I'll wear it often.
Water bottle and... Oh, got it. It's in the shot. Got it. My co-host here was telling me that the water bottle was in the shot. Actually, it matches really well with the background. But for those of you that don't know, Walleye Pete is wearing our Red Zone.
Yeah.
You don't have to model it. You look good already. The Red Zone Redfish shirt, which is really a shirt to celebrate. To me, I don't know. I mean, do you have a game fish, Pete, that you like more than a big bull red?
Oh my God. In Maryland, absolutely not. A big bull red pulls like there is no tomorrow, and it's a heck of a game fish, and it's a challenge and wonderful when you get them.
It sure is. It sure is. So those shirts are available at thefishingchannel.net. We got Brian McCormick already chiming in about the new sponsor, saying Fig is the best. Yeah, other than being a great contractor, Fig is a really good guy as well. Just pure good man through and through. But Pete, I've been following you on Facebook, and it seems like every morning. I think it was Chad Koenig this morning said it seems like you're on fire every morning. It's like I wake up, and by 9 a.m. I've got a post from you that showing a different one of your customers holding up at what looks like at least a 27-inch rockfish.
Yeah, a little bit of rattle of a chug bug does that every morning.
Chug bug's been crushing it.
Oh yeah, ever since the water got below 70, it's been on fire early for me. Shallow structure. You can catch them on X-Rap 10s, X-Rap 12s. If it's too shallow, you can't go X-Rap 12s. You get snagged. But poppers and X-Raps have been doing great before the sun comes up. I'm crushing fish on those things, but the poppers have been on fire. I mean, recent, this morning, my temperature gauge in the truck said 39. And I'm like saying, yes, the colder. I like it. I like it. The water temp in the main stem of the bay dropped close to 60. And 60 is prime time for the best fish shallow for me. Maybe other guys up and down the bay, maybe there's a different bullseye for them. But for me, 60 is a heck of a bullseye. And then once it gets below 60, they thin out a little bit, but I still catch good fish. But right now it's just lit up in different shallow water structure areas. A lot of rocks are holding fish, rocks and shorelines and, that kind of stuff. Stump fields.
Well, Pete, we've got, right around 40 people logged in right now. And I would imagine some of those people are not from this area. One of the things that I find most interesting, and I got my partner just reminded me, we've got question of the night. And question of the night gets, what I call like a seizure combo, because it's like bright pink and chartreuse. So
yep.
If you're epileptic, that's probably not going to be the prize for you. But one of the things I've noticed, Pete, is that from region to region, shallow water means a different thing. So when you say you're, fishing that chug bug before the sun comes up in shallow water, what does that mean?
Shallow water to me in Chesapeake Bay means, I'd say 2.5 to 6 feet of water. This morning, it was probably 4 feet with some rocks that came up to about 2.5 feet, and there was a current ripping over them. And it wasn't even, we couldn't even see the poppers yet, but you could hear them getting smashed. So it was insane. And it probably would have been like that on any numbers of structures up and down the bay. That's what I think anyway. So 2.5 to 5 feet is shallow to me. Some spots might be a little deeper than that. When you got those, you go through 2.5, 3 feet of water, and then there'll be a trough near shore that might have 6 feet of water. So those fish will sit at the beginnings and the ends and on the edges of those troughs. So I sling lures to those troughs near shore, and there's stumps in them. In Chesapeake Bay, all the islands of the eastern shore had trees. Now there's no trees, but what's left is the stumps. And there's a lot of stump fields folks don't know about. And throughout all my ridiculously extravagant long travels, I have seen a lot of stumps. And since I got the side imaging, the side, I'll say Humminbird, my side imaging from Humminbird has been insane. I can see 100 feet and 3 feet of water, and I can see it clear. So since I got that in 2017, my menu of structures has gigantically grown because I've seen things that I never saw before. And now I can just go to them, sling these lures. I can see fish in those stumps, or if there's only a couple fish hanging out near a stump, I might not see it, but the popper will draw it up, or the crankbait, or my cool paddle tails, or BKD. That's what I use.
Yeah.
Paddles, BKDs, cranks, and poppers. That's it in the shallow water.
Well, Charlotte says you're looking good, Captain. So, I mean, I guess she likes the whiskers okay enough,
Yeah, I don't know about that. She's lying. But no, it's all good. It's all good. I hope my mother's watching. My mother will absolutely tell me to shave. So.
Oh well, your mother is a lovely woman. We've actually, she's come up on the show before. I think it was your mother's birthday. When you were on one time.
Yeah.
So we have Rodney Green, talking about people coming from different areas. Rodney Green's in Missouri. He's listening.
My baby.
So Missouri, I think that might be a new location for us. That's pretty landlocked, but
gotta be blue cats, mud cats there.
What's that?
Blue cats and mud cats.
Yep.
Maybe.
But you know what, Pete? Like, I've found, a lot of my freshwater techniques that I grew up with in Georgia have done really well in saltwater, and the other way around. So
I grew up.
I would imagine something that Pete shares tonight will be transferable to your fishery.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a question coming in from Shore Sharp. He says, "What's your favorite weight jig head for shallow water?"
Good question. Real good question. Well, here's what that depends on. How shallow? So say if it's 3 to 5 feet of water and there's stumps, I like a 1/4 ounce jig head. But if it's windy and I got to get the cast out there, maybe 3/8 of an ounce jig head or a Storm Shad. Today was windy I had to fight wind. I had great slingers on the boat today, guys that could cast. But storm shads cast in the wind real well, yet they're buoyant, but yet they cast well. So they don't sink fast. You don't lose them in the stumps. And that's a great bait right there. But the jig head thing, if I had to pick one jig head for what I'm fishing, I will go with a 1/4 ounce.
1/4 ounce.
Yeah.
We have Chris Teague says, Marianne said you're looking good too. I mean, guys, I mean, you know.
I don't blame her. She fished with me before. And, you know, I get it. I get it, Marianne. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it couldn't be the shirt. I mean.
Oh, yeah. It could be the shirt. That's right.
So one thing that, you know, you and I were actually sort of texting before the show, and I think we both got busy. But after that morning, you know, top water bite happens, right?
Yep.
So, you know, the sun's up. We're looking at like 8 or 9 o'clock. We're going to kind of break down the morning in chunks, almost like a kayak fisherman, right? So the sun's up. It's 8 or 9 in the morning. How does your approach change?
Well, this morning I made a run up inside protected water. I'll say it, inside the Honga, and then I also fished Bloodsworth. So I fished Honga, Bloodsworth. Every day is different. Some spots have fish some days, and some days they don't. So I have to cover a lot of ground to be consistently good at catching fish. But 8, 9 o'clock. So I ran across the bay. The sun was up, and I'm looking for points, obviously that are protected from the wind where there's no mud. I'm going to slide into a zone where there's not muddy. It can have a little dinge to it, but it can't be chocolate milk. And I'm going with these guys. And I'm going with this guy with the sun shining. Whoops, there you go.
Hold that plug a little closer to the camera.
There you go. Let me see. That's all it is an X-Rack 10, man.
Yep.
It's a
So
small.
that's going to dive about 4 to 6 feet, right?
No, 2 to 3 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it dives 4 to 6, I'd be losing it on stumps all the time. An X-Rap 10, it's a Rapala X-Rap 10 goes, I'd say 2 to 3 feet. And then an X-Rap 12 goes 4 to 5 to 6, maybe, depending on how fast you retrieve it. If you're on my boat and you're not cranking this as fast as you can with erratic stop and go, I'm barking at you, man. All in good fun. And some people say, my wife thinks I yell at people. I am coaching, and then I'll give you a hug after I coach you. But
firm instruction. It's firm.
It rattles and it vibrates, man. And then this paddle tail is special to me because it's got a rattle in it, man. This actually has a rattle. So
I didn't know that.
I don't know where my mic is in this thing.
We hear you loud and clear.
I'm on my computer. Can you hear it?
Nah.
Okay. Well, there's a rattle in there, and it's amazing.
Fish can hear it.
Oh, yeah. And then when I pick paddle tails for that shallow water with the 1/4 ounce head, I like a paddle that paddles, and that paddle paddles real well. And that's a knocking tail paddle tail. It's knocking tail lures. It's from Texas, but I like them a lot. So anyway, I use those in the shallow too. So 8, 9 o'clock, I'm going to points with some troughs because it's getting brighter out. Now, when the water's in the 50s, the fish will stay with the sunshine, and they'll stay in that shallow water. They might hug the bottom a little more. They might get around the shadows of stumps and things, but and they probably won't come up unless they're really thick. If there's a lot of them and they are competing for bait, then they'll come up even in the sun. But typically I tell guys, okay, forget the plugs. Let's go with the cranks and the paddles and then the BKDs. I used a lot of BKDs, and I love the GI jig heads. I hate to say it, but I can't use those in stumps. They're too pretty. So I use cheap jig heads in the stumps. Now in the deeper water, I go with the GIs. I got a bunch of them ready for that deep water jigging. Nothing better than those GI jig heads. But shallow, lead colored, cheap jig heads work really good. Yeah. And they don't break the bank when you get snagged, but they catch fish well. 8, 9 o'clock. There you go. So we're going to go to the points. Stump fields, troughs near shore. Also, bridges, the Honga River Bridge, that's been all right. Sometimes it's thick, sometimes it's not. A lot of people fish there. I pass through and check it. But anyway, that's it.
Lady C's asking, is incoming or outgoing current best for landing these big rockfish?
This morning, the lay of the land was such that the incoming tide was best because the incoming tide went over the structure, but the outgoing tide swings around that structure because of a point So outgoing tide where I was at this morning, no good. Incoming tide, very good. Current plus structure equals fish. I preach that at my seminars and I preach it on the boat, but not always. They're not going to be there always. This morning, we dropped 8-9 degrees in just a couple days in the shallow water and went from mid 60s to mid to low 50s. Actually, this morning I saw 54 at the lowest temperature. That it was 66 just a couple days ago. So it dropped a lot of degrees, and I did cover quite a few areas that did not have fish. So I was working one region. I probably fished 3 or 4 points. I didn't see anything on my side image, and I just speed fished. I didn't see them. Nobody hooked them up, and I didn't smell them, taste them, or feel them. So I bolted to another region, and I went from 54-degree water up to about 57 in that second region. And that region had several on points. It had several slugs of fish, and we started catching good there over on the east side, which was good. And then, Bloodsworth was difficult. It was difficult. Wind was blowing. The water was a little bit muddy. But then I dug into some nooks and crannies and found clean water. And that's when I found fish over in Bloodsworth. But that was in remote, crazy stuff that typically you don't, I don't ever see boats there. But I feel bad. I saw birds sitting on the water. And as I was going to go through Bootlegger Cut, and I saw birds, but they didn't move. And then as I got closer to these birds that weren't moving, there was a freaking duck boat with hay all over it. And that guy was so well camouflaged, I didn't even see it. And then he popped his head up and probably cussed at me because I blew right by him because I had to go on plane because the water's shallow. But I didn't I couldn't believe it. I didn't see a boat. I saw birds, but they were fake birds and they looked real to me. And then his boat, then I said, wow, that's his boat right there. But anyway, we caught fish just up from him a little ways in some deep pockets. They were in deep water today in some cuts.
And, Bloodsworth has a bunch of little cuts in there. And you pretty much got to be, somebody who's fished that area a lot because Bloodsworth,
You do not want to break down or run aground and break something because towboat ain't coming.
I got in there one time, first time I tried it, and the water was too low, and I got a bunch of sand all up into my my injectors, and luckily I was able to limp home, but that was a long limp home all the way back to, I think it was probably Solomon's. But
back to the 8-9 o'clock thing, it's also 10, 11, 12, 1, and 2 o'clock. That sun was shining today, but we caught fish all day on various points and deep pockets in those cuts. So this time of year, when the water is especially in the 50s and low 60s, they'll even in the upper 60s, even in the sun, they will stay in that water. Early poppers, later paddles and cranks.
We got some questions coming in. Justin Burns asked, any signs of fish grouping up and breaking in the bay with birds yet?
The last several days, I have seen 0 birds working. Now, outside of Solomon's at Cedar Point, about last week, there was birds out there every morning, and they were on small stripers, some 1-pound blues with an occasional decent striper. But I didn't stay there long enough. I just screwed around with it for a minute to see if there was decent stripers yet under them, and I was happy that there was a few. But that's the only birds I've seen out of Solomon's. I do believe that up some of these rivers, like the Pax, up the Potomac, and then up north in your ballpark, that's where the breakers are. The breakers are not down my way yet. I'm going 100% structure.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. Those breaking fish with the birds, that's more of a, I would say Poplar Island and north thing now. Maybe a little bit further south than that, but it's going to be working its way down there pretty soon.
I haven't been north at all. I've been east and south mostly. So I have not been running north. I like north and I like the east side north, but I haven't been up there. Just the conditions. I have been kept on the west side a couple of days because of all that heavy westerly wind. So I fished structures all the way down to Point No Point, all the way up to past the power plant. But there's a lot of structures in there that I can pick away at fish even when I can't cross the bay. Yeah,
we got 2 more questions coming in, and then we're going to run to question of the night. And I guess, Pete, we'll do like 9 to 10 and 11 to 12 next month. We'll break it down. But John W. says, at what temp do you move away from the islands to the main stem?
That's a great question.
I hate to be biased, but that's a good question.
No, that's a great question, and it's something that it's loud and clear in my records. 50 degrees. When it's below 50, when it doesn't say 50 in the shallows, I'm gone. I am not in there. And see, what happens is, I think anyway, I don't know everything. I just think it based on what I've experienced. But all the bait leaves the shallow water. So if the bait leaves, the stripers leave. Everything goes to the main stem of the bay, and then you got, the fish are cracking in the main stem of the bay. Then that's when we have a bunch of them, off of Point Lookout in that region. All the birds and the fish are out there because all the bait left the skinny water, and now they're getting attacked from above by the birds and below by the fish. But 50 degrees is that number. And let me add one thing to that. Here's what I like. Say it's November and we get, say it gets down to 48 degrees, but then we have 3 days of sun and 65 degrees and sun. That third day, that water's probably going to be 55 over there, and I will happily run back over there in that shallow water and catch big fish.
So it goes in and out, right?
Yeah, they'll come in there. They will come back in. The bait comes back in when it gets over 50. So sun is a good thing in November for shallow.
We got time for one more question, and it's from Rich Forfa, who says, do you fish the east side of Bloodsworth and other islands?
I fish east, north, south, and west side of every island, plus inside the islands. So depending on the conditions, Rich, I absolutely. Today I fished the inside of Bloodsworth because the wind was coming out of the west. So I was on the inside of Bloodsworth fishing stump fields. We picked away, but it wasn't that good, man. It wasn't that good. Some days it could be great. I fished up the other side of Bishop's Head, and we did catch a little bit there, but it wasn't great. But I fish all that stuff, every bit of it.
Guys, Pete's guide service is 4 seasons. It's 4 seasons fishing charges. Is that right?
4 seasons guide service.
Guide service. Connect with him on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. But I will say, Rich, your question is one of those questions that makes me think of Pete's seminars, and he does several seminars during the winter. Pete's going to give us, more information. Stay tuned to his Facebook. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to get to that tonight because we have to do question of the night. Pete, you got one for us, and question of the night is going to get the seizure combo, the chartreuse jig heads. This is a 3/4 ounce, and the pink BKDs, and these will probably be pretty good once that water gets a little bit colder and they're out in the main stem of the bay. So,
what weight are those jig heads?
3/4 ounce.
Okay, cool. They'll flutter down there nice. Well, hey, a simple question was the best one. The water temp thing. The water temp. When do they leave the shallow water? So, it's crucial. If you go there and it's 45, you caught them last week in 55. Now it's 45 and you caught nothing. That's why, because it went below 50.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That was a great question, John. And John, I'm not 100% sure I know which John this is, but John, send us a message on the fishing channel. It can be admin@thefishingchannel.net, or you can reach out to us on Facebook and connect with us directly. But Pete, you're the man.
I'm guessing John Walbert.
Yes. Oh, there it is, John Walbert. Yeah.
I guessed it right.
Probably been on your boat before.
Oh yeah.
But Pete, thanks so much, guys. Thanks so much to every single person that asked a question tonight or that just tuned in to watch. We really appreciate everyone's support. And, we got a lot more coming. Pete's going to be on every month, and the fishing is just going to get better from now to, really the 1st of January. But Pete, thanks so much. And we'll check you guys next month. We got the Georgia Report coming on in just a few minutes.
All righty.
Take care, Pete.
Yep.
Young, just hang around. Too proud to be your fool. You said no thank you when I tried to.